Hey guys, welcome back to Triple Take, your insider information on three guys attempting to break into the entertainment industry. I'm your host, Drew, and I am joined with me, my lovely co-host, these beautiful, beautiful young men I have with me.
My name is Ryan. I also go by RC.
And my name is Oscar.
Beautiful, I'm gonna cry. And today is our first episode. Yippee, everyone clap around. Everyone clap, everyone clap. Clap, clap, clap.
Oh!
Very happy to be here with us. We're going to start off with our check-ins. And our check-in prompt for this week is Grammy nominations. Thoughts, concerns, anything and above. So I'll start off like I always do because I'm a prick. I really think it would be interesting if Beyonce gets more than like 3 awards.
Why?
I say that because I did not listen to Cowboy Carter. I have not heard a peep of that album. I haven't heard nothing. Not a damn thing.
Me neither.
It was sort of
And
low-key, yeah.
I think, and I heard this from one of the podcasts I was listening to earlier, was people in the industry feel like Nashville didn't pick it up. Nashville didn't gravitate towards it and make it theirs. I'm not sure how I feel about that. But I do think that was a super interesting point. Like the country music hub of the world didn't necessarily push it like I feel like Benson Boone is being pushed in those spheres. Someone who is nominated for Best Artist of the Year.
When you say grabbing it and pushing it, what do you mean? What do you see that like a community will do that you didn't see from this album from Beyonce? What do you mean?
I think like I'll take her current fan base, right? So the Beehive, right? Like they're gonna grab onto her stuff, and I think that can look like physical sales, so vinyls, merch, concert tickets, yada 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 yada,
Right.
whatever. And I think on like maybe like a cultural, like even like societal kind of thing, like kind of pushing and having like I think I have a good example. Usually on the way to uh what's the goodness, what is the event in LA, and it's in Joshua Tree. Why can't I think of it?
Burning Man?
No.
No.
Uh
Joking.
you went to it, Oscar, a couple years back.
Me?
It's the music thing. It might not be in Joshua Tree. It's out there though.
Coachella?
Yes, thank
Oh,
you.
Oh,
yeah.
all right. That's in
Crap,
Palm.
I'm
That's like
so
near Palm
yeah.
Springs. Yeah,
Someone
yeah,
please hit me.
yeah. Yeah, damn. All
I was
right.
like, holy crap. So usually on the way there, back to what I'm originally saying. Usually on the way there, you're gonna see a billboard for some music artist promoting something.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I think they should have done that in Nashville for Cowboy Carter. Because I
Yeah.
think it had the popularity and I think it had the drive to do so.
Yeah.
And I didn't see anything like that. It could have happened, but it wasn't marketed, which is even if it did happen, it wasn't marketed. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I
Right.
mean.
I got you.
Okay.
Well, yeah. How many nominations does she have? Do you know?
I don't know that, but she's in the lead, or she's in the lead with 11. I currently think.
Damn.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I
That's
think
many.
after her is 7, and I think that's Billy, Sabrina, and possibly Chaperone. But please, if you are listening to this, do not take these metrics 100%. I could be wrong. But
No,
I'm
Drew's a
pretty,
doctor, yo. He got it.
I got my little MD after. But yeah, that's what I think.
That's a lot of nominations for an album in which, I mean, not personally, but I see on social media a lot of people are also confused by the amount of nominations too. Kind of did fly under the radar. Like how much, and this might be obvious, but how much of the artist's influence and status plays into that nomination? I feel like it's become more of like a game of just of status and who's the biggest artist, who can get the most attention. And a figure like Beyonce, who has a lot of power in this industry, can secure that. Like
Yeah.
has
She
has
does that.
something like has awards like the Grammys or Oscars. Have they gotten away from the talent and just followed more of like they're in this system of if you play it right, then that equates to nominations like that.
Right. I mean, the Grammys are so like controversial. Like they've had so many controversies in the past like couple of years. I guess come to light that they've always been controversial, but just no one really said or did anything. Um, I guess the two most notable were like one was in 2019. BTS was just enormous. Like they were just so turned across the world.
They were hot.
Like they were hot. They just made fucking K-pop just go crazy everywhere. And they got zero nominations in 2019. That was such a huge thing. People were calling the Grammys like xenophobic and just I don't know, just kind of sheltered and just kind of focused on the
Mm,
main American artists.
that's right.
Um,
Now that you mention it,
yeah,
it makes me remember. I remember they invited BTS to the Grammys and they were going to perform, and that gets a lot of viewers. But what had
yeah,
happened was they had saved their performance for the very end, and they also didn't win any Grammys. And a lot of people were accusing the Grammys of being xenophobic or some words, but they also just like baited BTS in a way because they knew how many viewers they would bring with their
yeah.
performance. And once they did, I think I don't have the statistics, but I remember seeing the charts of viewership. And after BTS performed and they had not won, it took a huge dip. And the
Right.
Grammys had strategically placed them last, to maintain that viewership up till the end.
Yeah.
So there is something to see there, I guess, for sure.
Right. And also Tyler in like 2020, he made this like statement about um just like black artists being labeled like under the urban category, which was, also a pretty big thing. They definitely made some like adjustments since then. Um, but I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I probably would compare it to like how XXL is now. So like I feel like
Oh, that's a good
back in
point.
the day, right? But when the freshman list genuinely was something where you could find someone that you maybe had not heard before, at least for me.
Yeah.
Um, and it was interesting and it was new and it was whoa, like this is everyone's gonna point to 2016, but like let's point to like other years with like Logic, Pusha T, I believe was on it. Like let's point to these other years,
Yes.
like these super influential. Mac Miller, I'm pretty sure was on XXL. Please don't quote me on that. But like there's like such influential artists that have popped out of there. And I think I just saw it like the other day, like the new list, and it's like Boss Man D-Lo and like Big X the Plug. And that does not mean I don't like those artists. You with the glasses sitting right there, dude. No, don't comment that. No, I do like these artists. These artists are good. Are they influential? Are they breaking barriers? Are they doing the same things? Are they the real reason why the freshman list was invented and pushed this heavily and was adorned by culture for such a long time? It doesn't make it a bad thing, I don't think. It just makes it, you have to look at it. You have to look at it for what it is.
Mhm.
Labels are buying into this and it's semi payola, and you also have to bring in TikTok views. And if you're not signed or you just got signed a year ago, you're probably not bringing in, over a billion TikTok views. Like it's a hard thing to do. So I would just say like the Grammys probably is similar to that. Like they're I think a statistic was for their best new artist category, all of those artists have been singing or performing or had
For a
that
minute.
persona for like over 7 years,
Yeah.
right? So like it just takes like what are you talking about in terms of best new artist? So I think we just have to be really strategic. I was even telling you guys about this, like the whole difference between record of the year and song of the year, and like how I did not know this. Like normal people would not know the difference between record of the year and song of the year. And the fact that we have to like, if you're actually going to enjoy the Grammys and like analyze it as like what it should be, a reward ceremony, a ceremony and an applause to creativity, like you just have to step back and say, is that really what it is? Or is it a popularity vote? Is it people who know people get this? It's up to
Right.
you. I
Yeah.
think it's super up to you. And I think it's worth something because I think you see it gets a lot of things right. It gets Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Sabrina Carpenter, Chappell Roan. I think that's five names. Those and Charlie XCX are all artists who are, I believe, nominated for every single category, right? So like there's dominance,
Mhm.
that's female dominance. And that's one thing you can't deny that fact, right? That the musical landscape has just been dominated by women the last realistically 4 years, I'd say. Honestly, you can give them
That's a good
two,
point.
but 4 years. So like they're still getting things right. It's not like it's super behind where they're not being realistic. Um, but I think taking into account everything, you gotta understand what it is. I think
True, bigger picture.
you know, and I think that bigger picture is what's the point? Like, what's the point of the Grammys?
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
career ladder for these people. Like,
yeah.
artists that have been nominated or win multiple Grammys, they get bigger contracts, they get more, priority amongst the studios. So for them, it's huge, and for us, it's we want to see like the artists that we like recognized, or even just being nominated is huge. So yeah, it's just at the end of the day, it's supposed to be appreciation, and like these awards are for the artist, but people have a lot of different views on it.
Definitely. Definitely.
You know, but besides that check-in, I definitely want to get into one of the first things I think we should be talking about
Yes, sir.
is that we decided to do this pod, that we decided to do with each other, that we're doing this together. And I wanted to ask you guys, and I guess I'll start off because that's as being nice is answering the question before I ask,
Just
right?
go ahead. God damn.
I really like talking. Um, but the question I'm going to ask is, uh, can we get a deep dive into who you are as a person, into what you want to do in the industry, about what fuels you kind of in the industry a little bit. Um, and yeah, so I'll start off. So again, hello, I'm Drew. I'm an A&R, primarily focused in the realms of hip hop, pop, and dance music. Um, yeah, that really answers it. And I think a question I would like for each of you also to ask yourself a question related to what you want to do. So for mine is favorite new artist currently, and that's Zucchini, kid out of Florida, I believe. I found him on overlooked.ig. Shout out overlooked.ig, a great resource for A&Rs, a great resource for just music discovery. If you're into music discovery, if you're into tracking new artists, it's great. Would enough promo for them. And he just released his a project called Birth of the Slayers, I believe. And it's your kind of regular underground, very Floridian sounding music, but he's incorporated this style of Slayer and very gothic and vampire hunting. And the kid carries a sword around, and you can hear like sword wipes on like the songs
Damn.
and stuff. And it's like, and like he always talks about Slayers and how he's a Slayer, and this is the sound of Slayers. And it's just, it's like, it's world building.
It went hard.
He's really captured like this essence of what he thinks Slayers is, and like the word, and it's really cool. He has a lot of good songs. Mary Kate is good as a good one on there. The one directly after that is Bretta Bretta. That song goes hard. Slayer Disease. The beat is insane. I definitely need to look up. Yo, shout out the producer who made Slayer Disease. You are a genius, my friend. You're a genius. I'm gonna kiss you on your forehead. Amazing. Lily Pad is a really good one also on there. Just overall, like everything you're kind of asking for in like underground rap music. you're hearing someone talk their shit in a creative way, and you have the hardest hitting beats ever. And I don't know if I'm right. I'll end it off on this. But in one of his songs, you can hear like the fire alarm beeper go off, or like the smoke alarm beeper go off.
Mhm.
And I think that's so cool. I think that's like that's raw. That's raw and real energy in that room. We're
Yeah.
like they're definitely hearing that, and they're just like keep that in, keep it in,
Yeah.
and that's so sick. So
You could
that's me.
easily remove that. So
That's
yeah.
crazy.
Damn. I want to ask you one more. Why do you want to work in the entertainment
Thank you for asking me that, RC. You're so nice. Oh my god.
industry? Please.
Why I feel like I feel like it's just very me. It's very me. Um it's specifically I want to be in the music industry. So I'll start there. And I want to be in the music industry because music is something I love. It's one of my only loves, something I care about so much. If I like as an A&R, I feel like I'm an A&R. I was an A&R before I ever thought that A&R was a thing. Like I was on SoundCloud discovering like Spot 'em Got 'em and X. Like I remember when I saw X post like Teeth, and I was like, you see like the cover art for it, and it's like this girl, and she's like biting her hand, and she just looks so strung out on like everything you can imagine, and it just brings you to like a certain atmosphere and a certain temperature like within yourself and within like life. And I don't know what else I do. Like I don't know what else I do. It's like the only choice, honestly. So
Damn,
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
beautiful, bro.
What
All
about
right,
you, RC?
me. What was the first question? What was the first one we even went over? I think the first question is who I am, right? Okay.
Who
Well,
you?
I'm Ryan, and what's my space of interest? I'm more interested in movies, music, and I'd say first place is comedy. Comedy's huge for me. I grew up watching a lot of comedy, like great comedians like Dave Chappelle, Eddie Murphy, Raw. Like I'd be watching all these specials. I watched a lot with my dad too, so it has a special place in my childhood. Um, and why do I want to be in that space? I think it's beautiful, bro. Like whether it's music, movies, or comedy, right? Like these are all spaces in which people with creative minds can express themselves artistically, right? Make a group of people laugh, make music moves people, movies tell you a story. I think these are the creative endeavors worth pursuing. And I'd love to be involved in that in any way I can. I mean, I majored in marketing in college coming out, so I could see a career, helping market different movies or work for a music studio and help artists with album releases or tours and stuff like that. But I also do have a passion for comedy, and I'd like to explore that more. I can't put a name or label on what exactly I want to do, but that's for me to figure out and keep y'all updated. So yeah,
Of
that's a
course.
work in progress. But yeah,
what's your
that's
question to yourself? What's your question to yourself?
what's my question to myself.
Yes.
What's gonna be for dinner? I'm kind of hungry. No, I'm just
Mm.
kidding. I think the question to me would be, wait, I'm sorry. What do you mean by that?
So I asked myself, what's my favorite new artist, upcoming artist? So I would ask you, what do you think is a relevant or a very similar question to that? A question in the same vein, but to yourself, relevant to your experience, to what you want to do.
What's a question to myself? I'd say I'll go easy. I'll go. Who's my favorite comedian right now? I'd say at this point, I love Shane Gillis. He's newer on this. I mean, he's coming out. Y'all probably know his name, of course. But his style of comedy is it's so like elevated and just intelligent. Like he talks about history and he relates it like, and you could tell who this guy is. Like it's very authentic. I don't feel like he's trying to be someone else. I feel like he's being true to himself. And he also is very he is not too politically correct. And I feel like comedy has become in the past couple years, like cancel culture's taken a huge have had a huge impact on comedians and what they feel comfortable saying and whatnot. But I think Shane Gillis has is leading the charge on bringing comedy back to like its truest form and just being authentic. And I'd very much like to see more stuff from him. His impressions and stuff are great, so I love
Yeah.
Shane Gillis.
He's known for that Trump impression, Drew. It's so good.
It's really
He's
good.
got it down. He's got it
He
down.
dresses up as him and goes on a show called Kill Tony, and he's
Oh
great.
yeah.
He does everything, like great nominations, great nomination. Like he's really good at it.
Can I
So
ask you, what is your favorite type of humor? Because I know you and I know you like to do impressions.
I
Like,
do.
is impressions your favorite? And if so, like, why? Like, what draws
Yeah.
you to impressions?
Impressions is like it's one of my favorites because I realized I had a knack for it. I like to hear people talk in different accents, right? Or a strong character, like someone like like Donald Trump. Just their personality is wacky. And then I can just kind of emulate what they're doing. Um, and sort of like I like to think in other people's shoes, like put yourself in someone else's shoes is how I like to think a lot, in terms of just like moral compass and stuff like that. So I kind of apply that to an impression. I literally think like, how would this person say something, or putting it myself in their state of mind. It kind of helps with the impression. That's why a lot of like mannerisms come out and whatever. That's what I like doing. But in terms of like what my favorite kind of humor is, man, I like witty humor. You know what I mean? Where it's someone's not like overtly trying to get a laugh or act funny and dumb, but they'll say stuff and put in jabs and like like you could just tell like this person's quick. Like they'll make someone laugh without really trying. That's like my favorite kind.
For sure.
It was great, man. Gotta laugh. It's medicine. But yeah, that's me, man. I like to laugh and make people laugh pretty much. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's move on to Oscar on the bottom
That's
here.
your shit. Uh,
Appreciate
I'm
it.
the last person. My name is Oscar. Let's see what we got. I'm gonna take you on a little journey about myself. Starting from, I guess, not really day one, because I wasn't really there for that. But I grew up in mostly like, I'd say a musical family, maybe above average musical family. Like we have like speakers and stuff built in to our house, which is awesome. And I'm so grateful that my parents, invested money in that just to like just turn up music hella loud and just like jam out to music. And that was just ingrained in me like just from the get-go. Something my parents also did was make me and my older sister, we had to play instruments. We had to. We weren't really, it wasn't really a choice, but they rented me an alto sax. I don't know how, but
Yeah.
I chose alto sax. So I started ripping on the alto sax, and it was just like, I don't know, the worst shit ever, but also just fun because literally you can just
Sax is
make
sexy,
whatever
man.
you want come out of this, golden looking horn thing. Um, we also had a piano in our house and like a drum set in our house. And it was just so fun to just like make noise. And I just loved doing it. Um, I was also known, I kind of still am like this, but I was known for just like making noise without instruments. I'd mostly use my voice, just kind of like screaming or like just like making just random fucking noises around the house. Maybe singing like a song that's stuck in my head like over and over again or something. Um, like clapping and hollering and stuff like that. And even continued on into school. I always remember my eighth grade. Yes, eighth grade. I'm like pretty old at this point. My science teacher had to like write a letter home to my parents. And she was like, can you please have your son stop making like R2D2 noises while I'm trying to teach? And that's literally how it sounds. It's just like imagine all of R2's just like screeching. And like I would just be doing that during class apparently. Um
Apparently, what
I
do you
don't
just
I
Like
mean, I
she's
don't
like
fucking know because
she's just like, oh, this is the Earth's core. It's like, ow! Like, what the hell's going on?
something. But my
Yeah,
parents will always roast me. They're like, "Stop making R2D2 noises." And I'm like, "Okay."
y'all are killing my
Um,
dreams, man.
yeah. And like I'm not proud of that, honestly, but like that's just like I don't know. I always like telling that story because it's like shows something about me that like I'm interested in like the noises that can be made. That's what I like. That's what I
Mm,
stuck with, and that's what I'm going for. Later on in high school, I kind of graduated from like making noises in class out loud, and I had this laptop, and I got Ableton Live on the Cyber Monday deal. It was only like $74. I probably still use my mom's money, but I remember it being $74. It had a little discount on Cyber Monday. Um, and Ableton Live is a DAW, a digital audio workspace or workstation. I look, I forget. And that's how you can like you can bring in instruments, you can bring in samples, you can bring in recordings that you found. And that was like my video games for like so many years, especially during COVID when all you were doing was just sitting in front of a screen. I love bringing
facts.
anything I could find. Like I would go look at like my favorite producers. I would steal all their fucking drum kits on Reddit and just like make whatever I could and thought of and wanted. And it was like so ass. Like it's just so ass, but that's what's fun and that's what I was so into. And I was stealing people's like flow and whatever, but I don't really care. I wasn't releasing it. I was just like seeing what I could conjure up. Um, and I was obsessed with that. And that was like my only calling. Like I wasn't trying to be an accountant or whatever. I wanted to do that. And then that led me to applying for colleges towards the end of my senior year or whenever the fuck that was, junior year. I don't know. Um, and I narrowed it down to two schools, UC Santa Barbara, which is like such a good school. And it's so great. It's like a party school. It's like in Santa Barbara on the
Right by
coast,
the
and you have
beach and
like,
everything. It's
yeah,
perfect. Yeah.
yeah. Um, and LMU, and LMU had this recording arts program, which was essentially what I got into. It's like recording arts for music and film sound, like making sound good, pretty much, and recording different artists, recording different sound effects that you lay over a movie, different ambiances, different whatever you can find, you know, and it's like a creative form of expression. And I went the LMU route. I mean, UCSB would be fun, but I chose this. I just felt a calling to it instead. And that's what I did. And from there, looking towards the future, I'm hoping to get into that realm, whether it's in music or film, but just making those sound good is essentially what I say. Um, but yeah, no luck yet because the industry is cooked. No, it's not. It's great. But I haven't had luck. I've been trying to intern at like sound houses,
Yeah.
which, uh, conjure up soundscapes for movies or record for music, stuff like that. But yeah, that's where I'm at in my life, and that's where my trajectory is going. Question for myself, Drew. I'm going along with you, not my favorite new artists, because I actually fell off from like learning about artists and discovering new artists. I used to do that a lot more like I don't even know, 5 years ago or something. But I kind of stopped like being like a I don't what audiophile or something, just like constantly searching for music.
Yeah.
The music I listen to now kind of finds me. I'm like, oh, that sounds good. I'll listen to it. My favorite current artist has to be Don Toliver. I love Don Tolly. Love Don
Good
Tolly.
pick.
He's just so good. Like
Why? Why?
his voice is so good. His voice is so good. And he just has great production. Like he's worked with Mike Dean. I've always loved Travis Scott because he's like fire. I don't know. And he's like little Travis Scott's little prodigy, I think. No
One of
disrespect to
them.
Don.
One of them.
But yeah, he's had some great albums. If you want to listen to Don Toliver, you probably know who he is, but listen to Life of a Don. So good.
I feel like he has a little
So
sultry
good.
voice.
Yeah.
Meow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how
It's
he's.
sultry.
I love him. I think
Audio
I think
nectar.
I think you've definitely put me onto him, and like you've definitely. I think a big thing in like your ear is, as you say, like the production sound, but like how like maybe like things flow and like mesh together in terms of the whole communion of like
Yeah.
sound development. Whereas sometimes, probably because of like my ear and that advanced into what I want to do, I'm able to like kind of differentiate between like the producer and maybe even the songwriter. Like, oh, this person didn't write this fucking song. I know that for sure. Then that can be good
Yeah.
and bad, right? And then
Uh-huh.
like the actual uh like performance, like vocal performance, like that artist has on the track and like what they're bringing to that.
Yeah.
But that like Don Tolliver is pretty insane. His
Yeah. Yeah.
pretty
Like
insane.
it's not like just a ride or die for what he's saying. Like I don't even know what his message is. I'm listening to the lyrics, but it's like I don't really stand for that. Anyways, it's just a beautiful like express. He's very good at like his vocal chain. It's just like beautiful.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's that's one thing I noticed is sometimes I love song, and then when I really think about it, I don't know what they're saying. Or like I catch words, but I don't know what the message of the song really was. It just sounded really good.
Yeah,
And
it just sounds good.
I feel like a fraud. Am I like do am I repping something I don't really know? Should I look up the lyrics? Like, what
Yeah.
is that?
I would ask like this is both of you like, do you look for like themes and meanings into songs? Like, do you imbue the song with that responsibility?
Most definitely. Yeah. Because there's, I mean, depending on the artist, right? They have more like soft R&B, like different vibes. But then also the things they're talking about, they're probably talking about a person they like love or lost. I definitely think like use that my life experiences and like in a way I think I'm the person singing the song about that person or a thing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
definitely, yeah. And I think a lot of people do that. That's the magic of music is like that song could feel like it was made just for you because it feels so personal. You're putting, a lot of like just your feet, your heart into it and thinking about your life with that song. So yeah, for sure.
I
Yeah.
have a question for Oz actually. On like that same vein, I love that phrase. That same vein. Do you have a movie where like that soundtrack just punches you in the gut? It's like, ooh, like this just
Damn.
makes me it puts me into this universe.
Wow. Yes. Um, I actually have this movie tattooed on my body. It's
Show
on my
Come
us.
on.
No, I'm
left.
just kidding.
Oh,
It's on my left thigh. And the reason I tattooed it on, one, it's fire. Two, my sister and I, we used to watch it like all the time when we were kids. My Neighbor Totoro. It's
Oh,
absolutely fantastic. And it just has this like crazy vibe with the soundtrack, especially the music, but also they're in Japan in this like country like house, and there is the soundtrack which is just like I don't know ethereal because there's this fucking like cat thing. What even is Totoro? He's just like floating. He's like growing like trees. I don't know, but they're in this like countryside and there's crickets and it's like mystical and there's so much sound that isn't just music, like instruments that was added in to make a whole soundscape. And that's what I've been super interested in after my time at LMU and like discovering like movie sound is
mhm.
that a lot of like recording, sorry, let me backtrack. Recording arts, the program at LMU is in the film school. And a lot of film students I've heard, they're like, oh, the sound is 51% of a movie, and the other 49 is the camera. I mean, the camera is clearly important. It's like, you know what a movie is, you watch it. But you also listen to it, and that's very important, like what you're actually hearing. And a lot of times, like what you're hearing can like really immerse you into what's going on. And like from a young age, I was so immersed into that movie, and it's just great. Like it's like a feeling like I can never describe. It just like makes sense to me. It's like, oh, that's just captivating. Um, so yeah, like if anything, next time you watch a movie, just try to understand that there's so many sound effects coming at you that you don't even notice because it's just a given. Um, but it's so important in like putting you into the movie.
Yeah,
And so
100%.
yeah.
I'm totally gonna listen to Tyler Perry and listen to his soundtrack
Yeah, do that.
tonight and see what he's into. Tyler Perry could have some crazy shit on there, some Italian opera singing. That was a good
Yeah.
job. I had a question for you, RC.
Go ahead, please.
So you talked about marketing, and I'd like to say or ask you, what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite marketing campaign? Something that just blew you away, something that was like you feel emotional to it also. It's very personal to you, but maybe how they went about it was just so interesting, how it captivated you.
Yeah, good
Oh,
question.
that is a great question. And I wish I
Smile.
could. Actually, I was thinking about that just now because I watched the Dodgers, the World Series with the Dodgers and Yankees. And this has happened before. So Smile was that horror movie that came out like 2 years ago, and they made a sequel just this year. It's sort of a sleeper hit in that the budget was very small. It was a new director named Parker Finn. He had made a short that uh, came out at I think Sundance Film Festival, and that's why they gave him the green light to make Smile One. But what he did was really smart. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if he was involved, but the marketing campaign they did for that was in a lot of televised uh, areas. Sorry, I can't find a word. They'd hire people to smile because I don't want to give any spoilers away, but in the movie, like smiling just like straight up, just like really menacingly is part of the movie. And so they'd have people in the background of like baseball games or basketball games, like in random places, they'd film them smiling, and then it would catch people's attention, like, and then that put them on to smile. And that was a huge thing. I saw that on TikTok, went very viral, and I saw that most recently at the World Series. So I would say that was, I mean, it's not very emotional to me. I'm not that invested, but I think that was a really smart way. Um, Also very budget friendly way to market a movie like that. And it's done really well. I mean, Smile 2, I saw Smile 2 recently and I thought it was great. And I think that marketing like that was just a really creative way to do it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely saw a smile, and I think the allure kind of the franchise as it's become, they made a sequel, it's kind of a franchise now, is
Hmm.
part of like the marketing campaign, and like how weird you like feel when it comes to like seeing the movie or even thinking about the movie. Like you feel weird because you're like, it's looking at me, something's looking at me.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think like that kind of coincides, goes hand in hand with like whether a consumer base is gonna see the movie. Like how the movie hits them before they see the movie and after they see the movie directly impacts that. So I think that's one of the coolest things about marketing.
It is. It's all
Yeah.
perception,
Definitely.
man, and influencing how people, see things. And at the end of the day, they want to make that cheese, but there's a lot of creative ways to go about
Cheddar,
it.
cheddar,
And
That cheese.
provolone.
I had one question for you too, Drew.
Mm.
You spoke a little bit about the music industry and uh A&Rs. Can you talk a little bit about what an A&R is and what your passion for that may be?
Yeah, 100%, 200%. A&R is artist repertoire. It, so legend states that it started out like that in like the old times. We're talking like 1980, like 1960s, 1950s. Because mainly like they were like artist managers, and you have to obviously be artist and repertoire, which is like being around the artist, kind of helping them with their creative process, but then also everything else. Like you're not an artist manager, I'd say, is more of a babysitter, but like you're like kind of the closest thing to like a like babysitter creatively though. Like, hey, did you clear that sample? Did you that depending on the artist, that might be the label's job, but like, did you do that? Okay, how do we feel about this song? It's very much kind of asking and doing like prodding questions for the people who are assigned to you and the people that you're helping with. I'd say there's like two types of A&Rs, and I'd say mainly the other type is just more experienced A&Rs. I'd say so when you're an A&R, your main role is to scout, identify, and sign talent, right? Kind of threefold.
Okay.
Be able to understand, hey, this is good talent. Be able to reach out to that talent, be able to get them in a room, get them by themselves, get them thinking about why Interscope, why Republic, why Island, why blah, 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 blah. And then actually close the deal on that because depending on how big they are, they could be a hot commodity, right? So you got to really pull strings. And I think more importantly, just be there for the artist, right? Like, I think at that point in their life is probably about to change if they're about to sign to a major. Um, and yeah, it's cool to be like, hey, I can take you to the Grammys. I can take you to BT. I can take you front seats to New York Knicks. You can have all these producers. All those things are great, right? It's kind of like going to college. But you also have to take into account like where are you going? What's the personnel around you? What people have they produced like you? Do they do what you do? If you're more lo-fi or you need a certain type of recording, does that major or does that label in general offer you that? And just do they offer it well? You know, are you going to ask someone to change up their whole scheme just for you? And I think that's kind of what you see with artists who kind of flop. But back to the question at hand. Yeah, that's basically what an artist is. Excuse me, A&R is more experienced. A&R also can be deep in the creative process. So that can look like actually going to the studio with the artist. It could be a producer. A producer can be an A&R. You know, like those things can be mutually exclusive. You're
Yeah.
creating the beat, and then you're helping the artist to get to that point creatively of making this full piece of work. And so you can be in the room, you can be a singer songwriter. A lot of songwriters also are A&Rs. A lot of songwriters, people who aren't performing, are able to identify talent and able to scout that talent out. Same
Right.
with producers. So I'd say probably more experienced A&Rs, even though the internet makes it a little weird, with sending files over and people that you're kind of just able to interact with.
Yeah.
And it's hard to interact in the 1970s with someone who's probably in Germany making crazy jerk beats. But now Xavier So Bass can get a jerk beat in 3 seconds from someone in Livonia. You know what I mean? So like a little bit
Wait,
crazy.
so when they're involved with artists, right? How many artists will you see working with an A&R? Because it seems like a very involved process. Like how many can they take at once? Or is that not how it works to work differently?
It
Does it work?
depends. Like
Yeah.
I so usually an A&R is on contract or they're hired by a label. No matter what type of label, if you go to an indie or you go to a major, you're gonna have A&Rs there because that's the bread and butter of the industry, right? So if you're signed under that label, will have your own A&R that will probably work your creative endeavors for as long as you're there. Um, Mainly unless you do something stupid, probably. But even then, like, why would they have you on roster and they're not helping you as much as they can? Um, you totally can interface with more than one A&R, depending on who you are and depending on what your needs are. I bet if Taylor Swift still has an A&R, who knows?
Mhm.
But she probably has multiple because that girl has just got it going. She's everything she hits is out of the park,
She's number one right
right?
now.
So there's just more people needed for the space. There's more people needed for the ecosystem to run efficiently and fluently. And I think that's mainly what an A&R does. It's just you're kind of like the first cog, besides the artist, to like make sure that this system runs efficiently. Your hand is in almost every single basket.
Mm.
Um, and that's a good thing, but also can be a bad thing too. You need to know what your strengths are as an A&R. I think you need to be able to understand what you're good at, what your ear is good at hearing, and how you can be proficient at hearing it and then making a decision on it and making a decision that is beneficial for all parties.
I got you. Damn, that sounds like a lot of work. And I don't mean like fuck that job. It's fucking that sounds too stressful. But it's like a lot. There's a lot in your hands in terms of like the impact you make, or as an A&R. I feel.
I think so, and I think it all goes back to also like what type of A&R are you though, right? So like you don't necessarily have to have 4 or 5 different artists. You can have a producer, you can have a songwriter.
Yeah.
Like that's your talent, but you're working your butt off for them. You're putting them in these rooms. You're getting them these understandings. You're really you're putting them in this on this marketing campaign. Like you're really working for them, but that's your only thing, and you're dying on that hill. So I think the great thing with A&R is that it's almost as creative as being an artist. You're not restricted to specific goalposts. You can pick the goalposts, just make sure that they fucking work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Make sure those goddamn posts work. Um, but yeah.
Gotcha. Thanks for shedding more light. That helped me understand a lot more too, actually.
Oh, thank you.
Boo! Sorry.
Sorry, sorry, sorry. No big deal.
Man.
So
Well,
Drew, wait, I have a question for Drew.
yeah.
Please.
You like, I feel like what RC just said, like, oh, that's a lot of work. I don't think it would be work, for you. Because if you're just like wrapped up in that, just doing what an A&R does, which is like definitely hard to define, even though you just did it perfectly.
No, I didn't.
It's just like it's just like you would just be like enmeshed in that scene and like that's what you want, you know? Is that your goal in getting into A&R?
Honestly, yeah. I think the first thing that popped up into my head once you said that was I remember when me, Q, and I think someone else, his little brother, maybe Lonus, we went to see like uh
That's lit.
Cash Dami like 3 years ago, 3, 4 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
And he had like this pop-up in DTLA, and it was like you see the kids there, and you see that there's actual community, and it's really cool, it's really sick, and it's really important. um and that probably just changed how I viewed things. It took me a longer time to understand probably what I wanted to do, but from there it was like, wow, you can do this. Like there are people who do this. There are people who are kind of just entrenched in that musical business. I'll say musical business. And that's what they do. And that's what they think about. And that's what they are passionate about. And it's beautiful. It's such a beautiful thing to see. And it was really cool to see a whole group of young people, a whole community of young people doing it too. I'm not saying his, manager is not older. I'm not saying his manager is 18. I it might be his mom for Dami, look here. But not sure. But it's it's a very wholesome thing, I think, and it's people coming together based on artistic values. And you can't beat that. You literally cannot beat that.
Yeah. I wanted to like segue um to our thoughts about the future. I know it's hard. You're supposed to stay in the present, whatever. But like I can start if you guys,
Yeah,
can
please.
tell my answer or whatever. But like for me, the stuff I'm going into and the stuff I've learned for the past 4 years, is on like Pro Tools. Pro Tools is like the software that's on the computer. Um, and a lot of the work I was doing, like for school, like my assignments were just like involved me sitting in front of the computer for like 8 hours, and my back just was like like the letter
Like a
C,
C.
like it
Yeah.
literally. And like that's what my roommate here, his name's Sam. He works in like a studio in Burbank, California. Um, and he is just like works like 60 hours a week. And the people he works for like might work more than that. And even though Sam is like doing running, which is like just helping out the engineers like in the studio who are actually doing the work, like say on Pro Tools, Sam also does a little bit. Anyways, it's just like kind of like an uphill battle of just like you're just grinding, like grinding through stuff. The work never stops, and it kind of becomes monotonous. That's like a negative thing I have for the future, is that you can kind of be turned into like a cog in like the machine of like this entertainment industry, which is just like pumping out stuff because like consumerism is on the rise, whatever. But yeah, that's just like some thoughts I have about the future, but I also have a bunch of hope, and like I'm excited for what's about to happen. But I want to hear what you guys have to say because one, I don't know exactly. Like I've heard what you guys like want to get into, but like what do you actually think you're getting into? Because there are negatives and positives for that.
Yeah. Please. No, Drew, please start. Go ahead. Okay, I'm gonna go. Well, I'll say this. I haven't broken yet into the entertainment industry. So I think it's harder for me to say I have an understanding of what I want to get into versus what I am getting into. I can say this. I think a goal for me would be to one day on the marketing side, I'd like to become a manager and lead my own team in making campaigns. I see a lot of marketing campaigns done for, in my experience, like movies that have not done very well, and it affects like the box office for that movie. And then the studio see it as a loss. But then watch the movie, and I think there are a lot of great films that just were poorly marketed. And what I would like to do, what my ultimate goal would be to become a lead my own team in that space. Not not a specific company or whatever, but to create my own campaigns and make campaigns that I think could you know give movies like that good pedestal, and the exposure, a good type of exposure that people would want to see it. Um, I just see it done. I think it could be done in better ways. So that would be a goal for me.
Yeah, there
Uh,
you go.
but as of right now, that's the road to get there. Is what I got to focus on.
Yeah.
For me, honestly, I feel like I'm sorry, my thing popped up. For me, first steps are I really need experience in the industry because I feel like I have a lot of personal work, like personal A&R curation work, which shows, hey, I can find and identify talent based on Spotify playlists, based on A&R tools like soundtracks, based on other things. But in terms of being able to put the creative endeavors into a business model, I think is something I have not done yet, because I haven't had the opportunity to do it, right? So like until you're actually in the system of a label, or an ecosystem of people who kind of are running a business, right? Like who you don't have to be signed to or work at a label. You can do it your own with a team. You can have an artist and like this is their team. Um, Long term, I really love the idea of starting my own label. Maybe before that being head of A&R, and then starting my own label because I think something I love is like artist management. That's something I never got into though, because I just didn't know. And I think something that stuck with me is I watched a Steve Stout and Pharrell YouTube video, and Pharrell said music or creativity without business is usually victimhood. And business without creativity is a waste of fucking time. And that just like that really hit me. And it's so important for me personally to be creative, to do things that are out of the box, to do things that people say, what is he doing that for? And like, yeah, I'll show you. I'll show you in a couple months. I'll show you in a couple years. Like you'll see it. You'll see it. You just gotta come along for it. So I think like responding to your prompt, Oscar, is like it can feel monotonous. Yeah, it totally can feel monotonous when I'm like sitting here just yearning, looking for on hours on end a different artist or a producer that did this song, or what label has what artist and what their roster looks like, and how could I be of help to an artist, like right, like looking at artists, looking at my friends who are artists and being like, how would I help them as an A&R, like kind of visualizing what their sound needs, what their marketing needs, what their needs are, um and then from there helping them with that. Because like if there's just the creativity, mouths aren't getting fed, and the whole point is mouths need to get fed. We need to profit off of our gifts, and our intellect and our appearance and the things that make us who we are, and we need to do it in a healthy way, and we need to do it in a way that promotes difference and equality, and that isn't linear, and that isn't, just this one thing that it has been forever, uh and promoting women, and promoting queer and trans people, like really just promoting the human for what it is and all its gifts and all its beautifulness.
Well, okay. That was well said. That was quite well said.
Well put, for
And
real.
yeah. I'm glad you said that about the monotony, because I don't know, it's only monotonous if you make it.
Yeah.
And that's the point, is it with these electually stimulating conversations, we can make the monotony, flow better, and we can be inspired by each other. And that's why I'm here talking to you guys. And I think that's the point. That's why I
That's what
want to
it's
get
all
into this.
about, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And for, people that also want to get into the entertainment industry, and it's hard to do. This is also for y'all. Like this is to relate like with our struggles and our grind, like we all want to support each other and get like hope we all get to where we want to be. We hope anyone listening that has dreams for themselves gets to where they want to be too. So it's all love, man. We all want love, man. For real.
For real.
You are muted,
You're
sir.
muted. You're
You
muted.
are
You're muted.
muted,
You're muted.
sir. God. It's like it's his first time doing this. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
I promise I'm
Yeah.
professional. I promise I'm professional. All right, I'm gonna get out of here because my iPad's about to die, and I don't want to look stupid in front of my friends
That
anymore.
would be
But
crazy.
guys, thank you so much for tuning into the first episode of Triple Take. I can say I'm super excited to be here. I'm super excited to go on this journey with you guys. And
Yes.
as RC said, like this not only is for us, but it's for everyone else who comes across this and understands that things happen and you want to get in this thing and it's hard and you're not sure about it. You're unsure about yourself. You're unsure if you're good about it. You're unsure. You already graduated. You're 30. You're 30. How are you going to get in the industry at 30? Like you're going to
You're
transition.
scaring him. You're scaring him, bro.
Don't scare him. Don't scare him.
But it's like the whole point is community. It's community based.
Facts.
It's tapping in horizontally and saying, hey, I see what you're doing and I think you can do it. And I'm proud of you for going on this trip. And we are all three. All three of us are super proud of you guys, and we're all proud of ourselves.
Yes.
That's the first episode of Triple Take, guys. Thank you so very much for tuning in. We love you guys. Peace out.
Thank you for tuning in. Triple Take.